Let's see how we can implement Hypersign passwordless authentication in our Node.js application within a few minutes. Here we have implemented a simple Node.js server or application with just one package using Express, right? Um, it has two routes, a get route which serves an HTML file. The HTML file has a very basic content, and a post route which is serving a message, right? Our job is to implement uh, Hypersign authentication protocol or Hypersign authentication in order to secure these APIs, right? So let's just first run the server. Okay, let's try to browse this. Okay, you can see the page is properly browsing. We have just one text here. Let's just add some style here so that we can see a better, login page. And let's try to browse it again. Perfect. Now that we have this page ready, we can go to uh, Node SDK repository and follow some documentation, right? At first, we need to install this SDK in from the npm in our repository. So we will install that. Meanwhile, we can go ahead and you know so the second step is we must have a Hypersign JSON file in the root directory of the project, right? And in order to generate this, so this Hypersign JSON file is nothing but a configuration file that the SDK needs in order to, run it. So in order to generate this Hypersign JSON file, we need to go to the developer dashboard. So here I am in the developer dashboard. Let me just quickly log in. I can go to the apps and create an app, right? So let's call this app a demo application, and we need to provide the base URL. The base URL is nothing but the URL on which your server is running. So our service is running on, let's say, which port? The port is 4006, right? So we need to register that HTTP port. Then we need to provide an auth resource. I'll come to that. What is this auth resource in a bit? So let's say the auth resource is going to be uh, auth/login. Okay, and let's create this application. Fine. The application is created, and we have now we have a hypersign .json file, which we can put it in our download folder. I think it's there. Let's check this out. Okay, yes, it is there. So go back to the application. The first thing that we need to do is import that file here. So in order JSON to here, right, in the root directory. So we have this hypersign JSON file. It will have all the keys, necessary keys, which is required for this flow to work. Go back to the documentation again. The next step is we need to require this package. So let's require this package and then initialize the package. Okay, so we can initialize it here. So here I am just doing a new hypersign auth and sending the server object to this. So now we have a hypersign object ready. In our applications, we can go ahead to the documentation to follow the next process. So the next step is to implement an authenticate route. So let me copy this and implement a route here. Okay, this route resource we need to change because we have used a different route for our login. So it was auth/login, right? And yeah, we can also delete this. So we have our login route ready. Remember, in order to authenticate in order to create an authentication route, we have to use the Hypersign.authenticate middleware. Similarly, in order to you know protect all of our other APIs, we can use the Hypersign authorized middleware. So all we have to do is we have to use this middleware here. That's all. So this is it on the backend side. Now we will go and implement the front end implementation. So let's go to the document again. Here the first step is to create a DOM with this ID. So let's go ahead and create a DOM with this ID, right? Once we do that, the next step is to add an appropriate script. So we will use this script and we will add that script here itself. Okay, just make sure that this socket URL is the same as URL. So there are two ways to implement Hypersign using WebSocket and polling. Right now I'm using WebSocket, so let's use that. And the moment we do that, we can go back to the application and reload the page, get a login button here, right? Of course, you can change the login text and all using via this documentation. You can follow this documentation and change all this parameter. So but just let's keep this as a default. Now we have a user is no longer gonna need a username and password. Instead, they use this login button. The moment the user clicks on this login button, this wallet comes up. This wallet is running, although running on a server, but the data is residing in the browser and the local storage of the browser itself. So the user authorizes, right? And you see nothing happens, right? It's because of the fact that we have not listening to any of the event. So in Hypersign, when the user gets authenticated, it sends a event, HS success, where you can listen to the event and get the authorization token for your further routes, right? So let's go back to our index.html page, the client side, and let's listen to this event. So we will create a script here and add this, the listener. And let's go back and try to authenticate again. And this time we should be able to, get the authorization tokens or access tokens. So let's try that. Perfect. So now you can see we have got the access token as well as the refresh token. So we will use this access token now to access our protected resources, right? Now that the user is authenticated, we can use this access token to basically access our other resources. For example, if the user wants to go to the home page, he will have to use this access token uh, in order to access that. So let's see how we can do that. I'll go to the application here in the index.html page. In this object, we are going to get so I'll just copy paste the code snippet here and explain. So from the e.details, we are getting this access token and the refresh token. And then I'm going to make a call to our protected resource, which we can see we have exposed a resource here. And one thing which I have added is once once a user authorizes, you can get a user data out of this object, and you can send, I'm just sending that user data to the UI so that I can show you, right? So here I am going to make a post request, and I am passing the access token as a bearer authorization token, right? And then I'm going to show it on the UI, right? So this thing I can comment now and go back to the application, and let me reload the page. So I get this QR login button, I authorizes, and yes, so now that you can see that I'm able to get the the data or any resource, I'm able to access that resource which I wanted to write. So similarly, you can implement any kind of and dot, just this one line of code will help you to protect any of your APIs, right? I just want to show you one quick thing before we close this. So if we go back to the documentation, you can see you can also this documentation instead. You can also have a QR button or QR code instead of login button, or you can have both, so that user should have ability to scan the QR code using a mobile wallet. So let's use that and see what happens. So let's go here, and here in login, let's use a p tag, and then okay, and let's go back to the login page and see what happens. So if we reload, you see, now either your user can even use a mobile phone to scan a QR code, or if they don't have the mobile phone at that point of time, they can simply use this login button to basically authorize or to basically authenticate themselves, right? So that is it for this demo, and I hope this was useful, and this was very easy to basically implement the client side and the server side implementation of the protocol in very less amount of time. Thank you.